Welcome to Jacksonville Inside and Out. We're here today with our guest, Sandra Leigh. She is a local writer and actress. We're here to talk about some of her books today. And welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now, you're from Jacksonville, or?
Born and raised.
Okay.
I escaped for a little while there, but the bungee cord effect kind of sucked me back. It's one of those things you just can't get away from.
Well, yeah, we hear a lot of that in Jacksonville. I got out for a little while, but I just came back in, and, you know.
I got family here, and I don't think I'll ever leave.
Okay. And now you have a different sort of process for writing, as I understand it.
I wouldn't exactly say I have a process. I'm kind of very organic because I'll get an idea, a what if. The only children's book I've ever written was a little piece called Kismet. And it started out because I do digital media. I use Poser and Bryce and what have you. And I had just gotten a genie bottle. And I had this, I'm like, I want to do a picture with this new prop that I've got. And I'm like, just the genie coming out and some guy on a carpet. That's just so overdone. Well, what if a cat knocked over the bottle? Yeah, I do to do that and said, wait, does that mean the cat gets the wishes? And then from there, I ended up with this, cute little story that I completely did in Photoshop and Bryce to, about the story about how a cat got his 9 lives and what have you, and a genie cat knocking over a genie bottle. And once I get started with an idea, the characters, I know where I'm going to start. I have an idea where I'm going. The characters do not always let me get where I want to go.
Well, that is one of the downsides of writing, is that your characters start to take on a life of their own.
And that's when
then you sit there yelling at your characters, why aren't you doing what I want you to do? You sort of, I always thought that gave me a different perspective on the Bible. Because, you create these little people and then they start doing things, and you're controlling them, but they start doing things that you didn't intend them to do.
Yeah, it's like, that wasn't what I was going to, no, that's not what I was going to say here. That works better and I can't change it back to the thing that I forgot that I was going to have you say and have you do, and you're going, you got to go over there, you're right. And you have directions. With Mercy's Ransom, I'm like coming up to the final battle scene, and I'm like, this is the big shit, this is it. Where are you? What are you doing? Oh, I forgot about that. And then next thing I know, I've got another 12 chapters to the book. But it's good. It works because it's organic and it flows like reality. And when you have a character that says, no, it's more natural for me to say this. It's like you give a line to an actor and the actor is like, I'm really not feeling this. This is awkward. It's Star Wars and the I love you, I know thing. Because I love you too, it's so, but when it comes out of your mouth naturally, that's where the magic happens. That's where you get something that's worth keeping.
Yeah, and that Star Wars line, for anyone who doesn't know, that was actually accidental. It was, they kept doing the lines over and over and over again, trying to get it right. Because originally he was saying, I love you too. And
he's like, I really don't like this. This isn't working.
Yeah, it just wasn't working. And they kept doing it over and over again. And Harrison Ford ad-libbed the line. And the director went with it. And it was funny because the crew didn't want to break, because they were going to break for lunch. The crew didn't want to break until they got it. And they're like, no, that is it.
Right.
But yeah, writing can be the same way. Now, tell us about your newest book.
It is called The Lady of the Mist, and it's part of a series that I keep saying, no, it's only going to be 3 books. No, it's probably more like 5 or 6, depending on how long it's going to take me to tell the story. You always hear the stories about people who've been taken by the fairies and disappear, replaced with changelings or, what have you. And when they come back, if they escape or they were released or for whatever reason, they're never the same. Once you've been touched by fairy, once you've eaten of the goblin fruits, things like this, you're different. And this is about a group of people who were taken and have escaped and have formed a community because they're kind of all coming out in a similar place because, the fairy trods, there's only so many paths and they dump out in particular places. It's very heavy into the Irish mythology. It's primarily about Eventually, there's going to be other books in the series about the other characters, but the Lady of the Mist focuses on Ceolbrun, who is a fairy governess, basically. She was a young Irish girl. She was orphaned, had very little prospects. Decided, I'm going to go become a governess, and she answers an advertisement, and come to find out that the people who hired her were I have 3 royal children. By the way, these are fairy royal children, and ends up spending 150 years in fairy until
in fairyland.
In
like West Hollywood or
no, in actual some Avalon is one of the places. There's Tir na Nog, actually where On was in the gates of at the gates of Tir na Nog.
Okay. Avalon, is that related to the King Arthur myth?
Yes.
Okay.
That is where the fairyland where the British Fae basically come through, because Morgan Le Fay. She's called Morgan of the Fairies for a reason. Okay. And Avalon.
So I never made that connection with the word Fae and Morgan Le Fay.
That's why she's called Morgan Le Fay. It's a French thing. Which is why you get the different spelling of the word fairy, because sometimes you will see it the Fae, F-A-E, sometimes it's F-E-Y. It all depends on what language it's coming from. I stick very heavily to the Celtic mythos, both Irish and Scottish. I have Seelie and Unseelie, which is more Scottish than Irish, but the main character is Irish, and she rescues. Basically, there are several of the Fae. Right. And there's a war that's perpetually going on, and a lot of this blends into the Celtic mythology really, really deeply, to the point of where you've got one of the true Fae is Lear,
Okay, well, hold that.
Okay.
So we've got perpetual war between different fairies and all these sorts of things, and this kidnap story, sort of.
The kidnapping isn't actually part of it's part of the setting. It's this is how they got.
Well, we'll be back with more of that.
Okay.
In just a few minutes. This is Jacksonville Inside and Out. We'll be back with more of Sandra Leigh and her books in just a few minutes. Welcome back to Jacksonville Inside and Out. We're here with Sandra Leigh, a local writer and actress. We're talking about some of her books today, and she was just telling us about fairy wars and 150 years babysitting royal fairy children and that sort of thing. What are some of your other books? Are there more books in this line coming?
There will be. The second book to the Griffin's Rest series, which is what the whole series is called, which is the name of the community where they end up. The second book is called The Gloaming, and it will be out as soon as I can finish some minor stuff with like the back of the cover, with the cover, and all I'm waiting on is my cover and the little. I hate writing the little blurbs at the back of the book because you have to condense 400 or 500 pages to 2 paragraphs, and that's not my job. That's a publicist's job.
I always feel like with anything that I've written. And fortunately, I've only had to write short stories, so it's not really been a big thing. I can't write short stories. But well, I'm writing a novel, and I can't imagine trying to, I hate the idea of a blurb on the back, I love reading them before I read the book, but I always hate the idea of writing one, because it's just like, how am I supposed to do that? I just spent, I just wrote like 100,000 words or 80,000 words, and now you want me to just do to combine or to condense that into a couple of paragraphs.
I even hate doing synopsises because I'm like because Love and Runes. I managed to find gold with that one because that was the first one that I wrote. It took me 11 months to write and 11 months to sell. And that's my vampire story. And it spans about 2,000 years. It starts in Pompeii just before the eruption and ends just after 2000. Back where it began, and the blurb on the back is what happens when the main character dies within the first 10 pages. Where does the story go from there? Literally to hell and back again. And then I just described a little bit of what was going on, but...
Okay, so that's a vampire book. So when you say the character dies in the first 10 minutes...
Yes, that is when
he becomes, or she becomes a vampire.
Yes.
Okay. Now, part of your writing process, I understand, has something to do with the local gaming community.
Some of my ideas come out of characters that I have created. Olivia from Love and Ruins, some of the story was a conglomerative effort from the troupe that we had done.
Okay. Now, most people watching have no idea what we're talking about when we say gaming community. They're probably thinking video games.
Yeah, not video games.
We're actually talking about live action role playing. Why don't you tell us a little bit?
Not the boffer people. Not the one we're not the ones that run around when they're with the swords. Basically, you create a character according to the parameters of the system, and that fits into the world. And then you get to go out there and do it's improv theater.
Now, by out there, you mean there's a place downtown?
Yes.
And there's another game that happens like every other week at UNF.
There's a werewolf game out at UNF. There's one I seem to remember something about downtown. We have the biggest facility. It's the Midnight Espresso troupe. We have the largest dedicated facility for our LARP system. It is a huge building. We have full control over it. It's a warehouse over there on Union Street, across from the old cemetery. It's just down from Jack's Hacks, actually. We alternate every other weekend, although we have a game every weekend. We have a vampire game on Friday night. The following Friday night is our new Game of Thrones game, which is really shaping up to be exciting, and I have a lot of high hopes for this. We're like in our 4th session coming up, and the costuming and everything else is magnificent. Right. We have a werewolf game on Saturday, and the alternative Saturday we have a changeling game. Right.
Now I find some actors there, because with Flying Pygmy Productions we do some short films. We've done some work with you in demos for TV pilots and auditions and that sort of thing. We have a film coming up that Allie Crippy, who's one of she plays in those games with you guys. She's going to be in our short film coming up. Now, how do you think that this live action role playing, how does that help someone hone that acting craft?
Well, the only problem that you would have going from that kind of an environment to a scripted environment is just that, the script. But in the gaming system, you have complete control of the character. It's like a tabletop game, except you're actually being the character. You can dress accordingly. You have full control on how the character develops as far as how they interact with people. And sometimes I have walked in with a character where I was like going, okay, no, I have in mind, this is the way this person is going to be. And the first words out of my mouth with interacting with someone else was completely and totally different from what I had envisioned her to be, because they came at me in they set me off. Right. And I'm like going, okay, now I have this part of the personality, and it's like I wasn't expecting that when I was working on
in that respect, it's like a method actor workshop.
Yes. Oh my God, yes. And some of the scenes that I've had, some of them ended up in Lady of the Mist, and some of them will end up in some of the later books. Oh my God, completely unexpected, especially between, the guy, my husband, who was playing Sky, her big brother.
And that's in Lady
of the Mist. She's normally a very, very Mary Poppins, not really Mary Poppins, but, kind of, she fits that trope, the Nanny McPhee, because she's a fairy governess.
I always thought, honestly, that Mary Poppins was a Time Lord, but that's a whole other thing.
Oh no, if you read the book, she's very, very much a fae thing.
Well, we will be right back with more Jacksonville Inside and Out. Welcome back to Jacksonville Inside and Out. We are back with author Sandra Leigh. Her book, Lady of the Mist, available on Amazon and at Chamblin's, the downtown location.
I don't know if they have any over at the other one, but I know they have. Last I checked, they had a couple of copies left.
Okay. This is the first in a series.
Yes.
Okay.
It's called The Griffin's Rest is the name of the series. The first book is Lady of the Mist. The second book is The Gloaming, which is not out yet. The third is tentatively titled Dance of Devils, but I'm not 100% sure where that one's going to go yet. So
kind of want to get the second one done before you really...
Well, the second one's written and done.
Okay.
I just have to finish the
It's
cover.
just not published yet.
It's not published yet because I still haven't finished the cover and, the ad work and stuff. So
Okay, so people need to run out and buy this before the second one comes out.
it would be helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be helpful.
I understand there's only like 2 copies left at Chamblin, so
Last I checked, yes, there were, but that
people
can
need
be
to get on
fixed.
Amazon.
Yes, it is available also as an ebook on Amazon. My publisher, Double Dragon Publishing, it's a Canadian publisher. I have recently gone from, I started with with Love and Ruins with them. They were my first publisher, which all they do is ebooks. And I started off as an author with them in 2002. And about 3-4 years ago, I started editing for them. And I have recently been given a promotion to assistant publisher.
Okay.
So I get to help make some of the decisions as to what books they publish, and still doing editing work and what have you.
Now that you've said that you're involved in the publishing aspect, you're going to be like inundated with people.
I don't actually get to make those full decisions. I just help Darren when he's like going, okay, is this worth publishing or not?
Yeah, I get people coming to me all the time like, I have this idea for a screenplay. Well, that's nice. Send me an actual full script.
Right.
And then we'll talk.
Right. I would love to see some of these done, some of my books done as either a series or a Griffin's Rest would make an excellent series. Because of the structure, the way it is, there's so many stories to be told.
Well, you could condense it down into a screenplay and we'll talk.
I'm horrible at writing screenplays. You're talking about condensing, my other books, I have The Speaker, which is about a Native American girl who can speak to animals. That one's kind of fun. I want to do an audiobook of that with a full vocal cast. I'm putting together a Kickstarter to do that one as an audiobook as soon as I can get the money up.
Okay.
Which started off, the initial recording, I think it sounded really, really good. The other book that I have is my mermaid pirate adventure novel called Mercy's Ransom, which was supposed to be part of a trilogy, but I started the other 2 books. I just never really got around to finishing them.
Okay. And now the second book, you said
The Gloaming.
The Gloaming. What is a gloaming?
A gloaming is an old, I'm not sure if it's actually a Celtic word, but it's an old word for twilight. It's that time, it's a term they use a lot with fairies because the fairies come out during the gloaming, which is that in-between time between day and night. I think early morning can also be considered gloaming, but I'm not 100% sure of that.
So you're talking about like dusk or
Yeah, dusk.
twilight, which you'd never want to use that word after
It's been ruined.
the vampire, sparkly vampires.
No, those were not vampires. They were gargoyles who drink blood.
Okay.
She made a reference to the fact that they were made out of stone. A lot of mistakes were made with that book. I would never slam another author because I see what she was trying to do, but she neglected.
My problem there has more to do with like the actor who played Edward hated the character because the character's an abusive jerk. I mean, really. I mean,
in some ways, yes.
If you go down the list of things
Yes.
that are signs of an abusive spouse or significant other, he hits like clockwork, like every single one of the things on that list.
The one thing that she neglects to do, and really disappointed me, because I read them just so that I could be able to, okay, I'm going to talk about this, and I'm going to know what I'm talking about when I slam this. The whole thing with the imprinting.
You read them because you hated the concept.
I wanted to make sure that I knew, because my daughter wanted to read them, and I'm like going, I've heard bad things, and I want to make sure what my daughter's reading.
Right.
The imprinting thing that she did with the werewolves, I liked the way she did the werewolves. The werewolves were brilliant and innovative and new. But one of the things she did with them, that whole thing with the baby, the fact that, oh no, werewolves imprint on somebody, and it's this mystical bond, and there's no way it can be broken. If you pay attention to every vampire in her books, they are all paired off in a mystical bond that extends beyond death. It extends beyond life. That is what I believe happened between Edward and Bella, and that is what. But the fact that Edward didn't know what was going on, which is why he kept trying to, no, I've got to get away from this because I don't want to, because I don't know what's going on and I'm terrified by it.
See, yeah,
they had no
Stephen King,
choice.
I think Stephen King had the best critique of those books.
I haven't heard his critique.
His critique was, well, he compared it to Harry Potter, actually. In this way, he said that Harry Potter teaches you the importance of facing your fears.
Yes.
Twilight teaches you the importance of having a boyfriend. So,
I think if she had actually gone into and described what was going on that I've seen, that she never touched on with the vampires, like what she touched on with the werewolves, and that this whole mystical process, because they pair it off.
Maybe she just liked werewolves better.
Then she should have written a book about werewolves. If she had touched on that, it would have been a much better series.
Now, your work is under what genre? Would you say fantasy?
Yeah, you have to lump it under fantasy because I mix my genres, and every book is different.
All right. So, thank you for watching Jacksonville Inside and Out. Thank you for being a guest here today.
Thank you.
The book is Lady of the Mist, part of the Griffin's Run series.
Griffin's Rest.
Griffin's Rest series,
Yes.
sorry. This is the first book in the series. The second one is coming out soon. So if you have not read this one, go buy it now. And
prepare for a sleepless night. I've been told it's hard to put down.
Well, and then you can get the second one. And if you want to meet the author, you can go to games that she's involved in downtown.
We'll see you at the Midnight Espresso.
All right, and thank you for watching. Have a good day, Jacksonville.